Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hamilton Report. Today is the 26th day of April 2021, and I'm grateful that you decided to spend a bit of time with us this evening. We have a very special show tonight because my guest is someone who I know you're going to want to hear from, a very exciting young leader in the Democratic Party. I want to mention a couple of things before I introduce him, though. I think it's important that we just continue to keep an eye on what's happening in our state. Unfortunately, today, in one social media post, the governor crowed about making Oklahoma a sanctuary state. And at the very same time, he talked about signing 3 abortion bills, which effectively will make it illegal to obtain an abortion in Oklahoma. We know that this will not stand up, but it doesn't stop our legislature from spending money that we could certainly better use other places. It's important that we understand what they're doing because they're not doing it for us, they're doing it to us. And I'm not opposed to gun ownership, don't get me wrong. My point is this: when we become a sanctuary state, it means that according to this new law, that anyone who wants to come here with a gun may do so, and it cannot be taken away by any government. And that's, I'm just going to leave that there. As I've said before, I am not anti-gun, I'm anti-stupidity. And this thing will certainly not help us. It will not help us economically. It will not help our children learn. It will not help our old folks get the health care they need. This is harmful legislation, and it's just a continuation of what we've seen this legislative session at the hands of Republicans. So how can you begin to change all of that? Well, one thing is getting involved with the Oklahoma Democratic Party. And it's something that if you're watching tonight, you obviously have an interest in what we're doing in our state. And I hope that you will take a moment sometime this week to go to okdemocrats.org and look at all that's going on, all the things that you can do to become involved, to register voters, to help us register voters, to find out who your legislators are. There's so much information there, and I hope you'll take some time to just go through the site. While you're there, you'll see that our congressional district conventions are this Saturday, the 1st of May, either at 10 or 2, depending on which CD you are in. All that information is also available on the website. And because our state convention this year is all electronic, it means that everyone will be able to watch it. We'll be providing new details as they become available as to how you can watch that very important day when we will elect or re-elect our chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. And finally, there will not be a Hamilton Report next Monday evening. I will miss being with you, but it's an important evening, and I don't want to distract you in any way. The Edmond Democratic Women's Association is hosting a candidate forum with the 3 declared candidates who will be running for chair. They are Alicia Andrews, Christine Bird, and Sean Cummings. And that will be next Monday evening at 6:30. So instead of tuning in here, check out the information that will be available on our website later this week as to how you can pay attention to this important evening. I'm looking forward to hearing what the candidates have to say, and I know that you will too. So with all of that said, I'm very, very happy to welcome my guest this evening. He's someone that I've admired over the last year and a half that I've known him. I've watched him work in a number of ways, and I'll talk to him more about that in a moment. But I just want to welcome to the broadcast this evening the newly elected president of Young Dems of Oklahoma, Charles Wilkes. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
When I first asked you to be on the show, you had a conflict, and then very quickly you realized that you were able to switch things around, and I'm so glad you did because I was anxious to visit with you. I'm going to ask you a question I've never asked of a guest on this program. How old are you?
I'm 27.
The reason I'm asking is there are a lot of things a young person can be doing, especially at 27. You could be focusing on so many other things, and yet it is within you to advance the party here in Oklahoma. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about what drives you in working to build a stronger party, particularly with young people, Charles.
Well, being a millennial, I very much understand that, what's going on now is going to affect us. That's going to affect children. It's going to affect the Generation Z and the generation after that. And we can't only let, baby boomers and everybody make all the decisions that go along with things, because we also have to live in this world, in this country specifically. And it's all about galvanizing power at every level. There should be some balance, and there should be some ability for all of us to come to the table to make agreements and decisions that benefit everybody.
I'm really glad you said that. And as a boomer myself, I want to let you know that there comes a time when we get kind of tired of making the decisions, even though some of us have a hard time letting go of the power. But I'll tell you what's encouraging. Before I introduce you, I said I've watched you work in a number of ways, and it's not always been out front, which is something that has been particularly impressive to me, Charles, because I've seen you, carry banners, and I've seen you carry barricades, and I've seen you do whatever has to be done to make things work, and that's a true attribute. As far as your leadership, it means that you don't always have to be the one out front. But frankly, I am glad that you're out front in this particular role, because it gives you some visibility, and it allows you to amplify your voice. When you talk to young people around the state, what are some of their biggest concerns right now?
We could go all day talking about different concerns. There's so much of our economic climate where, there's always this pull yourself up by your bootstraps when we don't even know where to get boots. There's so much that goes along with community policing and all of that. There's so many bills that are going through that are detrimental to our lives. And then there's just that overall, if I could sum it up, it's this tension in, to be honest, a lack of hope and a lack of, care to get involved because they feel powerless so many times. Because, it's always that, politicians are crooks, or politicians only care about themselves, or, politics isn't for me, or politics is too toxic, or, so many of those things. And they're, so desensitized, and so, they feel like they're already lost, so they don't even get involved into the process.
And I that's something you just said really struck me, a lack of hope. That's for young people, that should be the one thing that they're full of, is hope. But what I hear similar things from you. This is a red state. Why am I even going to get involved? Because I'm never going to change anything. And sadly, we've got to change people's minds about what they can actually do. So when you hear these things, and believe me, they're all valid concerns. And you haven't touched on things like the cost of education and
Right.
Lack of job opportunities, and very real things impacting people's lives every day. How do you go about showing them how they can be involved, why they should be involved, and the benefit to them personally, and to the community as a whole?
I think it starts with self-interest. You could talk about the big problems and all those other things. A general person is not going to know where to start from when it comes to these big problems, these big issues, these big offices, to get rid of people and put people that benefit us in those. But they can start with their neighborhood. They can start with some things that will change in their neighborhood. They can start with some small wins, some things that, they see that immediately affects them, like city government based things. or, even the neighborhood walk, or like, those kind of things, community-based things that they can build from. They can connect to their local elected officials. They can learn different city ordinances and different bills that are going along that they can, have some input in and some process in. It's all about starting, where you're at and getting some wins. What can sometimes be annoying is that you can get into this process, but you deal with loss and loss and loss and loss. And that also pushes a whole lot of people out because they're like, all right, well, it's already what I thought it was. And so I'm gonna bow out. But if we can start to help people where they are, get some small wins and start to build from there, that helps to kind of build our power and build our ecosystem of individuals that can make change.
One of the things that our chair has said over and over is that we have to recruit for and from municipalities. And that's what you're talking about. I mean, if we can start to impact wins at the most local level, then we have a chance to continue that momentum. And I really applaud that thinking. We're coming up on Pride Month very soon now, and I'm already seeing more flags being flown. And there are still people who are reticent to fly an LGBT flag. The reason I'm bringing this up, Charles, is because there are still people who are afraid to put a Democratic yard sign in their front yard because of the neighborhoods in which they live.
Right.
Now, that's a real thing. If you are putting a target on your family by putting a Democrat's yard sign in your yard, you're going to think twice about it. So let's go back to the community level for a minute. How do you begin to address those feelings with young people?
That's a layered question. I mean, because at some point, somebody has to take that leap. Somebody has to take that jump. That's going to, sometimes expose you. Like case in point, I ran for Tulsa City Council District 3 in 2017. And that took a leap. I didn't feel necessarily the avid support. I didn't feel necessarily I had all the resources. I didn't feel like, I had a real chance half the time. But I took a leap because somebody had to speak to power and somebody had to say that what was going on was not okay. And I'm not going to stand by and allow those things to stay the norm. And that what entails when you run for office, you have to publicly put your address. And it's put everywhere. You have to be everywhere and be exposed to so many different things. I had different people trolling me and different people calling me stuff. I still have people that, look for stuff about me to this day. But that is sometimes the cost when you're looking to make actual change. It's not always fun. It's not always easy, but it's worth it to make changes that are going to affect people, even when you're gone.
And something that you said, I think, is really important. You may not have been ready for that office. You may not have had all the tools that you needed at that time. But what you did by putting yourself out there is you laid the foundation for someone to come behind you and run for office in Tulsa. And look at your council now. It's all Democrats, correct?
I think at least 80%.
Okay. Now see that doesn't just happen. It happens because of people like you who are not afraid to stand up and say, wait a minute, things are wrong here, because that gives someone else the courage to do that too. So while you may have lost the election, you have to take credit for gaining some ground there, because your work truly did help to change things in Tulsa. So I'm grateful for that. And my sense is that that's the way you are going to approach your leadership with Young Democrats of Oklahoma. Instead of taking on enormous challenges, are you looking to take off one bite at a time, so to speak?
Yes. We're looking to connect with young Dems all over the state and start their processes where they are, where they can build power where they are, if you can grab two or more people to work with you and you build on some things, we do some trainings, we connect them maybe to some funds, we connect them where they are, we build that foundation that will add and build on for the next and next and next. Yes.
I'm going to pivot to something a little more personal now. I know you to be a man of faith, and I'm wondering how you balance your faith experience with your political leadership, because frankly, I know that can be a hard thing when you're being hammered by one interpretation of things by the Republicans, and yet you may not share exactly those thoughts, but that does not make you any less a man of faith. How do you walk those lines as a leader?
I think the thing is that just because something is a part of the whole Christianity and all of that does not mean that I have to push what are beliefs that go along with some of those on other people. We live in a country that has hundreds of religions and faiths and spiritualities and deities and all those different things. And who am I to say that what I may or may not believe should be put on somebody else? And the thing is that, this country was made for everybody to explore their understandings and their views without someone else damaging theirs or, infringing upon their rights to another person's rights. And so that I consider that very dangerous for any religion to try to base, put their own beliefs on everybody else. We've seen the damage that Christianity has had to the world by doing, so much of its evangelism under the pretense of supremacy.
Yes, I would agree with that, and I appreciate your honesty regarding that question, because it's something that some folks really do struggle with, and I respect that. Let me ask you: is your family supportive of you taking on this much of a leadership position?
Yes. Now let's be clear; it's been a journey. It's been a tough journey. I've had some family members that didn't want me to run for office when I ran. I had family members that have not always been supportive, and that's fine. I think the most thing that has been affected by this journey has been my marriage, obviously, and there have been times which you're very well aware of, is that you can become so focused on the community stuff and the political stuff that you have to come back and apologize sometimes. So I've had times that I've had to come back and apologize for all the late nights and all the other moments. But it's definitely a lot of support and always pushing me into it. It's just all about finding that balance to make sure that, everything else that's also very much important in my life is very well taken care of.
I'll tell you something. That's great advice that you can offer to candidates, because that balance is critical, and it's hard to keep sometimes. But when we let it get too far off balance one way or the other, someone suffers, and certainly the person trying to hold it all together, it can be a little nerve-wracking or crazy making. It depends on the day, I guess.
Definitely.
Tell me about your other leaders in YDO.
So we have Shalandra Harrison, who is the executive vice president. We have Emily Tyndall, who is the vice president of membership. We have Matthew Ruiz, and we have Jakia Harrison, who are our national committee members. We have Dan Williams, who is our secretary. We have Mary Bell, who is our treasurer. And we have Leandre, who is our chapter president's association chair.
Man, that is a powerful group of young people. That's that. I'd hate to go up against you guys on anything, because that's a driving force right there. Good for you. That means that you're not going to have to shoulder everything, because you've got some other strong leaders standing with you.
Oh, most definitely. Everyone is more than capable of handling the pressures and the weight that comes along with being leaders in this process. And even still, we're working on even getting closer together and connecting even more to make sure that every person has everything that they need to be successful in their roles.
I know that it's been a challenging time for all of us, certainly, with the pandemic. But as things begin to return to some kind of new normalcy, what kinds of in-person gatherings are you looking at for later in the year, Charles?
So we personally have not even started talking about, doing anything in person yet. I believe that if we do, we'll make sure that some very social distance based events, some large buildings that we can kind of have a lot of space or even outside gatherings. But until then, until we kind of sit down and kind of talk about that and negotiate that, we'll be Zooming it out.
I know. I think everybody's ready for some fun. As we've been talking about plans for the Carl Albert dinner this fall, one of the things that we're really looking to do is make it a fun event, not just a dinner and award thing, but really interjecting some fun into it, because I think we're all ready to laugh and to just spend some fun time together. When was your convention? It was the 17th, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is still brand new for you. You're a week and a couple of days into it.
Exactly.
Well, I know that it's going to be a busy time for you. And I hope that you will always feel the support of the larger party, because this is, you're not in this by yourself. You're part of the whole. And
Right.
I think that's important. When I had the pleasure of having Jana Lewis Harkins on as my guest a month or so ago, and we were talking about the importance of really understanding that the Oklahoma Democratic Party is not some big monolith that sits high up in an office tower somewhere. The party is every Democrat in the state. It's every affiliated organization like Young Dems, like the Vets, like Stonewall, because that's how we grow a party. And I want to ask you specifically, what are your plans for growing membership in Young Dems? And I'm asking this for selfish reasons, because I'm hoping that you can give me some insight on what more we can be doing to grow participation in the party as a whole.
So I would say we definitely are looking to increase membership. We're definitely looking to increase our local chapters and kind of build that network. We're looking to be a lot more active on our college campuses, definitely in our high school campuses. And we're looking to upgrade our funding. We're definitely looking to get a lot more, monthly funders and a lot more process into that, which will help us to spread the word and spread information and, help train and all those other things. And last but not least, just get more young Democrats into the party as far as the structure. There's a lot of young people that want to get involved and they want to see, how they can make some changes, but they need a way in. Politics in general is not always, it's not always welcoming. Sometimes it's a closed circle. But it's always, if we can open it up just a little bit and start letting some more individuals come in, that'll build our base a lot more. That'll build, bringing in more individuals that can be candidates and helping to, pass the baton a little better.
Well, I think that's right. And no matter how much we try, it does seem that it's still, we can do more to keep those doors wider open so that people really do feel welcome and that their voices can be heard. You mentioned high schools. What is the age range for membership in Young Democrats of Oklahoma?
So we're right. I think it's 14 to 40.
Okay. So I definitely can't fit into that spectrum, but
but you're still an honorary member now.
Hey, I like that. Tell me about what work is being done in high schools. That's really interesting to me.
So it's its own process, getting more into high schools. You have to have a school sponsor. There are some, campuses right now that have them. There's a high school president that's elected every cycle as well. We're supposed to be meeting that person very soon. And we're going to look to basically kind of do an intro to politics kind of thing, to talk about it. Right now in school, that doesn't happen. The civic education is not where it used to be. So if we can do some hands-on education and kind of build that up early, that may help more people get more involved earlier.
Well, that's a critical piece. Once we engage someone at a young age, we'll keep them as long as we're doing things that are in their best interest, and certainly allowing people to have an active part. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about with your leadership in YDO, Charles, is that you have a commitment to have a broad platform, to listen to lots of folks, and to really give people an ear. And so I hope that you will know that we're all behind you, and I look forward to coming to one of your meetings soon. Even if it's a Zoom meeting, I would love to come and say hi to everyone, because I truly admire the work of the organization, and I wish you all the best. It's not easy, but you knew that going in. So I wish you every best wish, because it's going to be great. And you're going to do great things, and I'm going to look forward to watching you progress in your political career and the work that you're going to be doing for the people of Oklahoma, young and old alike. Charles, it's been a pleasure visiting with you, and I hope that you'll plan on coming back to see us after you have a little time under your belt and you start to make some plans that we can share with everyone, because like I said, it's going to be a good year. And congratulations to you, and thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
We'll talk real soon, my friend. Well, I'm glad that Charles could join us tonight to give you a sense of what's happening with younger people in our party. And I have to tell you, I am so encouraged with people like Charles, and my gosh, what a fabulous slate of leaders they have for YDO right now. These are some young people who are doing great things in our state and for our party and for Oklahomans. And so I know we have a lot to look forward to, and I'm grateful for all that they do. And I'm also grateful to you for spending part of your Monday evening with us. Just a reminder that we will not be here next Monday evening. Instead, the Edmond Democratic Women's Association will be hosting a forum for our announced candidates for chair of the party. And once again, our convention for the state is coming up in September. So, oh gosh, not September. I'm sorry. It's coming up, pardon me, in June, which will be here very soon. So do pay a stop to the Oklahoma Democratic Party website, which is okdemocrats.org, and you'll find the information on where to tune in next Monday night at 6:30. Note the time change. Until we're together again, I thank you again for spending this time with us. I hope that you'll take good care of yourself and those that you love, and I look forward to spending some time with you again very soon. Have a great evening. Thanks again.